Greetings, 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 everyone. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening series in conjunction with Kumbukeni. As always, my name is Ola Deledosumu. I'm the co-founder of Emerging Alkebulan, and we're about decolonizing our minds and awakening our consciousness. And I've got to say today, actually, it's been a year since we started doing this podcast. So basically, this is a celebratory podcast. We've been doing this for a year today. So yeah, thanks for being here. And yeah, we have an exciting one for you today. Unduku.
Yes, so asanteni, karibuni, asanteni kwa kuwa nasi. Thank you for being with us. The language I speak is Kiubuntu, erroneously known as Kiswahili. The name is Nduku. I am the host on Kumbukeni. And today, before I even start, I want to honor, today is Mashujaa Day in Kenya. Basically, they call it Heroes Day, but I call it Warriors Day. And this is a day that was designated to honor the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, otherwise known as the Mau Mau, for their sacrifice that they made for Kenya to be liberated. It's not yet liberated, but at least they contributed. And we have extended that to the different people who have given up their comfort, their lives to continue this struggle. So we honor all the warriors on today, Mashujaa Day. Asante.
Thank you. As you can see, we have a special guest, Dr. Judd Fraser. We're going to let him introduce himself, and then Dr. Fraser is going to do a presentation for us. So, Dr. Fraser, thank you for coming on our series, sir.
Thank you very much. I actually hate introducing myself because I'm a humble kind of guy. And so, I'm a race man. Yes, I am Black, in case you're not entirely sure. That's the beauty of our culture and race. We come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, and hair textures. Lots of options. We have lots of options. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. Our sisters have the mitochondrial DNA, the only people in the world that can produce any color of the human species. The sisters are the only ones in the world that are able to do that. So we're powerful and beautiful people. My life is about loving, giving, and serving and adding the highest value, because I think that's the purpose of life. And so that is what I get up every single day with. My intention is to make something that I touch, someone that maybe I talk to, maybe just make it a little bit better. And that should be one of your goals. I focus on guiding and teaching our culture the power and importance of the human connection, the power and importance of effective networking, building wealth, building businesses. I don't care where in the diaspora you live, building wealth and properly managing that wealth is critical. Building businesses and employing our own people, that of course is critical, and properly educating our children with an Afrocentric knowledge base, not just a Eurocentric knowledge base. So that's what I've been working on for about 50 years. I've received 2 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Awards. I've been inducted into the Minority Business Hall of Fame and Museum. I have over 350 awards and citations and 5 honorary doctorate degrees. So I'll stop there and we'll let it rip.
Thank you. Okay. The topic today is imagine what's possible when Alkebulans unite, when Africans unite. Dr. Fraser, please take it away for us, sir.
Yes. First, thank you so much for the honor of this time and allowing me to speak before this august audience. I'm going to say some things that are provocative. I am going to give some instructions, and then hopefully at the end of the day, you'll be inspired and understand that absolutely there is hope. There is absolutely hope for God's first people and the first great civilizations of humankind. And in fact, the challenge with saying that is that most of us do not understand, most of us do not know how incredible we are as a culture of people. There are 17% of the global population I'm getting into my talk now. 17% of the global population are white people. The balance are people of color, melanated people. About 1.4, 1.5 billion of those, of the remaining population, are people of African descent throughout the diaspora. So, what's the point, Dr. Fraser? The point is, we are not outnumbered by any stretch of the imagination. We're out organized, right? As incredible of thinkers as we are, we're out organized. So we must fix that. So that's A. B, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, and I now live in Cleveland, Ohio, and have lived in Cleveland, Ohio for about 55 years. Been married to the same sister for 51 years. Take a picture. That's a very odd and unusual statistic. That's a whole nother conversation. And we could talk about that at some other point in time. But I was running the streets of Harlem, New York in 1962. And there was a young man on the corner that was attracting attention. He was literally on a soapbox speaking. So I walked over to him. Remember, I'm only 17 years old. The man's name at that time was Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael was the left-wing version of Dr. Martin Luther King's tribe that fought for civil rights, voting rights, and fair housing in the United States. He was a radical. And he said something so powerful at 17 years old, it sunk deep into my subconscious mind and essentially changed the entire trajectory of my life. I'm going to read to you precisely what Stokely Carmichael said on that summer day, 125th Street and Lenox Avenue, right down from the Apollo. This is what he said. He said, no Black person in this world makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle, that we make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Thus, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you.
Whoa.
Now, I heard that as a 17-year-old.
Whoa.
Stokely Carmichael, who later changed his name to Kwame Ture, married the beautiful Miriam Makeba, okay, and moved to South Africa. So that infected and affected my worldview. The Nobel Prize winning author Toni Morrison said it differently. She said the same thing, but differently. She said, if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. The great African-centric scholar, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, born and raised in Harlem, was the mentor to Malcolm X. He said it very simply. He said the same thing, but simpler. He said, take what you do best and do it for your people. Well, that is absolutely correct. We must do it for our own people. Why? Because too many of us, not all of us, rely on what is called cognitive bias to make our decisions, as opposed to critical thinking. Cognitive bias is a systematic thought process caused by the tendency, my brothers and sisters, of the human brain to simplify information processing through a filter of personal experiences and preferences. In other words, it's not a really informed decision. Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully and conceptualizing and applying and analyzing and synthesizing and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by an observation experience, reflection, reasoning, analysis, effective communications, and you use that as a guide to your belief and to your actions. We must all become critical thinkers, and we have the capacity to do that.
Yes.
We are God's first people. We were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other in the Caucasus Mountains. And that's
Yep.
an anthropological fact that is not cognitive bias. So we must fix whatever situation we are in, wherever we are. We must fix this. Let me say that a different way. We are all drinking from wells that we did not dig, that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And the question that we have to ask ourselves throughout the diaspora is, are we worthy of that legacy? A 350-year fight against colonialism on the continent, against for civil rights, voting rights, fair housing in the United States. Are we worthy of that legacy? And the deeper question will be, what then will be our legacy? Right now, we know what the boomer legacy is. I'm a boomer. Civil rights, voting rights, and fair housing. We were the ones who marched with Dr. King. But what will be the legacies of Generation X, Y, Z, and Generation Alpha? What will our children be saying about them 150 years from now? That's the big question. Where are they going? What value will succeeding generations add? Now, bad news. Boomers. We are the first generation of Africans in America, particularly, to raise another generation of Africans that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of us in this country, and we're the only generation to raise another generation worse off than us. We need our behinds kicked. That is on us. So it requires change, not only for continental Africans, but Africans throughout the diaspora. Change. Let me say that a different way. That's the upside. Change is the upside. What's the downside of that? Because you will never change that which you tolerate. You will only change when you get angry. People will not change when they see the light. People will change only when they feel the heat. You will change your shoes when your feet hurt. I don't believe that we are angry enough. I don't. So we have to fix it. So the deeper question is, well, Doc, okay, you're so smart. How are we going to do that? Well, the first thing that we must more deeply understand that will facilitate the unity and the collaboration absolutely necessary to leverage the demographic number advantage that we have over those who actually control this world but don't look like us. But we have a demographic, and I think we have an intellectual advancement. The problem is that we're not organized around it. Let me put that in a metaphor. Let us say, hypothetically, that I am the conductor, and I'm not, I'm saying hypothetically, I'm a conductor of this orchestra that must understand the music and play in harmony. And the conductor's role is to, of course, understand the community, and he points the baton to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing so that the music will sound from Mozart or Brahms or Schubert like the way it's supposed to sound. So this is what we need: more conductors. This is what I'm saying. Making sure that we are in harmony. We need a greater understanding of the power of the human connection. Now, I've been preaching and teaching on this for 40 years. I wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race. It's the complete guide to effective networking in the Black community. This is a copy of it. I wrote it 37 years ago. It's the first book written for African people on how to effectively network. It is a modern day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges in America. And you can still buy it on Amazon 37 years later. It's the book that started the networking movement and understanding the power of the human connection 37 years ago. So, quick lesson, because I know I've got just 20 minutes, and once you get on a roll, you know it's hard to stop.
Please keep going. Keep going.
Right. So I'm gonna get biblical on you for one moment. Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, and he said, behold, it was good. There's only one time in the Bible that God is not happy with his own work. This is God. And it's actually in Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. He grabbed Adam's ribs and he made woman. There's a biblical declaration on the power of the human connection. It's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Do you realize there are 800,000 words in the Bible, but only 1,200 of those words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ? John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God. And he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. And he had to have what? At least 12 disciples. One turned on him. The love of God's love of the human connection is very clear. And he gave us two ways to ensure that we connect. He gave us sex and money. Let me unpack that. The inspiration for sex is ecstasy. There's no feeling like it on earth. But that is not the goal of sex. The goal of sex is procreation, to produce more of God's children to serve us and for us to serve. That is the goal of sex. Now, money. How do you earn money? Through service. And the more skills you have, the more people you are connected with, the more bonded you are with those people in your service to them, the more money you make. if you're about nothing, do nothing, learn nothing, not committed to personal growth and development and lifelong learning, you will die poor. So, Malcolm Gladwell, one of the great authors here in the United States, said the most common attribute among the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. Rich people have a lot of friends. Let me say that another way. I cannot emphasize this enough. Without other people to serve you and for you to serve them, you have nothing. Nothing. I call the human connection customer service. And for me, customer service is close to worship service. Why is that? A two is always smarter than one. I don't care how bright you are. You pick those who you want around you so that 1 + 1 doesn't make 2. You're not interested in 1 + 1 making 2. You're interested in 1 + 1 making 11, not 2. You're looking for exponential growth. You're looking for ways to add value to another person's life through loving, giving, and serving, and you're looking the same back from them. And then together, it's not 1 + 1 making 2, it's 1 + 1 making 11. This is really the goal of all effective networking. Now, having been writing about this for nearly 40 years, speaking about it for about 40 years, over 4,000 talks around the country and the world on the power of the human connection, I have observed of our culture mistakes they make when networking. And there's a talk that I give, I don't have enough time to give the talk, called The 7 Biggest Mistakes We Make When Networking That Will Ruin Your Reputation and Destroy Your Business. These are huge mistakes. But as my mother used to tell me, if you knew better, you would do better. We simply didn't know better. Most of us have not become experts in this field of the human connection and effective networking. So I'm just going to quickly do a flyover on what are the biggest mistakes. And by articulating what those mistakes are the built-in answers to how you fix that mistake. I'm going to start with number 7. What's number 7, Dr. Fraser? No follow-up. No follow-up. That's number 7. I've given out 31,000 business cards in 40 plus years. And people used to say to me, Dr. Fraser, aren't you concerned that people are going to bug the hell out of you? Because my cell phone number, my email number, all that's on there. I said, no. The overwhelming majority of those cards were given to our people in the culture all over the world. And here's one thing I've learned about our people in 40 years when it comes to cards. 99.9999% of them will never, ever, ever follow up. And they got a card from the guy who wrote the book on the subject, and they never followed up. The fortune is in the follow-up. Follow up with at least within 24 hours. And I don't mean follow up asking for anything. No. Follow up. Hey, glad to meet you. I appreciate the time we spent together. Have something complimentary, sincerely complimentary, not BS. And just check on the person. Don't follow up with someone you get a card from and says, "Listen, I run this foundation. Can you make a contribution of $1,000?" I mean, I don't even know you. That's a huge mistake. Never follow up asking for anything. Follow up and find ways that you can add value and serve them. Okay, so follow up. Now, is extremely important. What's number six, Dr. Fraser? Number six is most of us make a poor first impression. The first impression is the lasting impression. When people are out at conferences and workshops and seminars, they don't have a lot of time to spend with a single person. If they're smart, they're talking to a variety of people. All right. So they're not interested in your life story. They're really dialed to one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? How do you add value? I'm not interested in your life story. So you have about 15 seconds to keep their attention. After 15 seconds, they're going to start nodding and looking around and looking away. So 15 seconds to do your self introduction. And your self introduction is in 5 parts: who you are, where you're from, what you do, how do you add value. How do you add value? And if you add value, quantify it and prove it to me. You got 15, 17 seconds to say that. So let me give you my self-introduction. Hi, I'm Dr. George Fraser from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO and founder of Fraser Net Incorporated. I write books and speak on economic development and effective networking. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. Good to meet you. Right? Right. Now, I forgot to give you the quantification. And the quantification is very simple. Remember, I did the first four, then the fifth one is quantify whatever you say you do. So over the last 40 years, I've helped over 8,000 people secure over $3 billion in new business. Good to meet you. That's 74 words and it takes 18 seconds to say it. That's in my entire life in 18 seconds that matter. I don't talk about how wonderful I am. I talk about how I have added value and then I can quantify it. And if you'd like some references, I can give you tons of references. That's it. Now, either they request a card of me, because I don't go around conferences handing out cards, and neither should you. And if they don't request a card, right, it's okay. We can finish our conversation and I move on to the next person. Okay, so follow up, follow up, follow up. Make sure that you do bring business cards. If you have a just a paper one or an index card one, or if you have an electronic one, or if you have a card that you can swipe over a person's phone, it automatically. But there's all kinds of ways to do it. But make sure you're prepared to make to do it quickly and easily. What's number five? Most of us do not spend enough time networking. Right? And we did a whole study on that. We had the Gallup organization do a major study on the networking strategies and tactics and the time spent by Black people versus white people. And the average white person spends about 40% of their time working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. We spend during the study when it was taken, we were spending less than 10% of the time, and the Black people in the study, 51% of them said that networking wasn't even important. What was more important was their college degree or their education. And I'm not saying that isn't important, but without effective networking skills and without the ability to bond with people uh, and to work with and through other people, I don't care how much knowledge you have. What am I saying? Real simple. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already where you want to be. right? If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's because you simply do not have the right people in your life, regardless of how many skills you may think you have. So, business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you are really in case nobody has told you, is the business of building relationships. And this is what we focus on our annual conference coming up in Atlanta next year, the Power Networking Experience. This is where thousands of brothers and sisters gather to learn the skills of networking, building businesses, and properly managing wealth. They come from all over the world. Okay. I talked about two of the biggest mistakes, and I don't want to dominate the time. I do want to give our august
Yeah,
panel.
I think you've given us 3 so far. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you can go through then. That's fine.
yeah. So do you want me to go through the rest?
Yeah,
Or?
go for it. You
Yes,
started.
yes, please.
You might as well.
Okay. Number 5. Well, I already said number 5.
We've done 5 yet.
Yes, I've done 5. Number 4. Most of us do not have a networking system. Everything is a system. I say this with brothers and sisters who are in business. If you don't have a system, you don't have a business. I don't know what the hell you have, but it's not a business. What is your system? Something that you can replicate, duplicate, and scale. That's a system. Well, effective networking is also a system. So I'm going to give you my little system quickly. This is what I do every single day, 365 days a year. I've been doing these things for 40 consecutive years. You can't even imagine the cumulative effect of doing these things consistently, the effect that it will have on your life. What do I do every single day? I write 5 notes a day to people in my network. That's very easy to do. You can text message them, you can email them, but stay in touch. Every single day, I make 5 phone calls a day to old friends and family. Every single day, I make 5 personal contacts to new friends. I have a stack of cards right here on my desk. These are new friends, and I either text them or follow up with them or that every single day. Every single day, number 4, I make 5 sales calls every single day to people that I've sold things to over the years, but I'm not selling them anything. I don't want people to think that the only time that they will hear from me is when I want to sell them something. And just check on them. How you doing? How are the kids? That kind of thing. Every single day, and this is probably the most powerful thing I do. I make 5 introductions a day to people who need to know each other. So the cumulative effect of having a system is hugely important. Hugely important. And so you can use my system if you want. You can develop your own system. You can develop your own script for your self-introduction. You can use my script. You can get a video of this and mimic my script. So develop a system. That's number 5 or number 4. Number 3, now we're down to the top 3. Let me say this and still be loved. You bring nothing to the table. You're not committed to lifelong learning, constant never-ending improvement, and personal growth and development. In fact, you are just average. I'm not interested in average. Anybody can be average. I'm interested in excellence. I'm interested, and I think excellence 2.0 is the new goal. What's 2.0, Dr. Fraser? Now, excellence is the base. You come in, that's the base. Exceptionalism is the goal. That's what I'm interested in. So you've got to bring something to the table. Let me say that a different way. There's no human being on earth that at some point in time will not be not be invited to the table of life to eat. This is how God has designed the system. Right? you will be invited to the table of life to eat. But if the only thing you do when you come to the table to eat is to eat, and you don't bring anything to the table, you will not be invited back. And it'll go down very quietly. No one will tell you. You just will not get the calls. Bring something to the table. Be committed to lifelong learning, personal growth and development, and be amazing at what you do. If you're amazing, you'll never have to worry about getting in any door or having any opportunity. People will hunt you down. All right, now the top two. Number two, most people think that their IQ is more important than their EQ, their emotional quotient or their emotional intelligence. Oh no. Dr. Fraser, what is emotional intelligence? It's the control of your 5 most important core emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. Can you control that? Or are you out of control when you, with those emotions, when you talk to people? Do people find you offensive or negative? Have you mastered your emotional intelligence? Have you read the science and the books on emotional intelligence? I recommend one in particular, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's a small book you can pick up on Amazon. Read, very small book. You can read this book twice and it will change your entire life. There's a science out here that you don't have a clue about, but it's science and it can be learned. That's the second biggest mistake. Excellence.
Okay.
In
Can
your
you repeat
emotional
number
intelligence.
two? Can you repeat number two, sir? I missed that.
I'm finished with number two. Number one, and I'm done. What's the biggest mistake that Black people make? Most of us network to get something. Wrong. You network to give, and as you give, you get. If you ain't giving, you ain't getting. If you have nothing, it's because you've given nothing. That you cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the bank that which you have not put into the bank. Don't believe me? Go down to any bank, try to take something out of the bank you have not put in. This is how God has designed the system. So as we give, so we must give until it hurts and then give until it feels good. Okay? Now, so when I meet people, what I'm asking them is help me understand how I can help you. So the formula is real simple. Help me, help you, help me. Because every time I give, I'm investing into the, let's call it the metaphorical bank of giving. And God has designed a system that it is impossible to give without getting. It's impossible. That's the number one mistake. We're networking to get something instead of networking to give. There's a system, use the system. But understand, and I'm going to close with these 2 points. Understand that the path to this, to effective networking and understanding the power of developing um, uh, and understanding the human connection is critical to your success. More critical than your intellect. Now, so there will be obstacles. If it was easy, why would God need you? My favorite quote outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. And here's what Marcus Aurelius said in 600 BC. He said that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Let me say that differently. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are properly prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle. Make the mistakes, stumble, fall, and learn the lessons from those obstacles and mistakes. And then apply those lessons to your next step in life. And then you'll take the next step, you'll get your next assignment. And then what does God do? He puts another obstacle in your way. And when you look back over your life, that's the story of your entire life. It is overcoming obstacles. Let me say that differently. Obstacles do not block the path. Obstacles are the path. That's the path. If you find yourself on a road or a path where there is no obstacles, it probably will lead you nowhere. Welcome to life.
Yep.
That's how it works. There are some things you can only learn in a storm. And then your ability to navigate and negotiate that storm out into the sunlight. This is huge. It may be the core lesson. I close with this just thought. I'm 80. It's like I blinked my eyes and 80 years are gone.
Wow.
I will tell anybody in a New York minute, do anything but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, and I don't want to know. When am I going to retire? When I fall into my grave empty. There's a wonderful study, the New England Journal of Medicine, and I'm finished. It came out 5 years ago on the 3 most productive periods of our lives. Number 3 is between 50 and 60. Number 2 is between 70 and 80. And number 1 is between 60 and 70. So that means from 0 to 49, you haven't done a damn thing yet. All you are doing is being prepared to do your best work the final 30 years of your life. And I'm a living testimony to that. I've done some great things from 0 to 49, but it does not compare to what I've been able to accomplish in the final 30 years of my life.
Wow.
All right. So life is going to be hard. That's all I'm saying. Marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your heart. Obesity is hard. Being fit is hard. Choose your heart. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. You've got to choose your heart. Communication is hard, and not communication is hard. It's hard, right? You got to choose your heart. Finally, life will never be easy, my brothers and sisters. It will always be hard, but we can choose our heart, and I encourage you to pick wisely and die with memories and not with dreams. Let me help you understand this in a deeper way. Join us at the Power Networking Conference in October of next year. So you got 13 months to get it together. What I want to do, and we'll do it at the appropriate time before the end of the call, is make you a special offer. Once in a lifetime, we have a $2,300 package, 1 adult and 1 student. And I'm going to make it because this is special. $499, 1 adult and 1 student. Reduce it by 75%. $4.99.
Wow.
You have to get it through me. You have to email me. Put your name and your cell number in the email, and I will personally call you and handle the business over the phone by cell phone. Okay, so that's the offer. Forbes magazine named the Power Networking Conference one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. Not one of the top 5 Black conferences, but it is Black and it's African centered. But one of the top 5 of all conferences produced in this country. We're going on 24 years. Now, I don't know how long you've been Black, but I've been Black for 80 years. You know that we are highly critical of each other. And if our stuff ain't right, Black people will put you out of business in a New York minute. We're still in business. So something's being done right. So I want to make that offer to you. And then, and again, I deeply apologize for the time that I took. Because this is a very rich streaming opportunity and a very, very important audience. And I want to thank you, Andale, for the opportunity. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That's huge.
I have a question.
Okay, go on, Nduko. Go on. I'll let you go.
I have a thank you for letting me go, Oladile. Thank you so much for letting me go. I hear it. As you were talking, I was taking every step and Africanizing, right? Looking at it from an Afrocentric perspective, because we are so immersed in imperialism, capitalism, the miseducation that sometimes we forget we have to take it back to who we are in order to get the solution for us. So everything for example, when you got to number 5, you said most of us do not spend enough time networking. And I transferred that to most of us do not spend enough time being in community. That is who we are. Just because networking and the way the West looks at networking, there's something that's not clean about it. And we can get into that another time. But my question is, if indeed most of us network, or rather most people, there was something you said that we get what we give. So if we get what we give, what did white people, Arabs, Chinese give to get all that they have today?
What have they given to get all that they have gotten? Is the question? Oh, that's the real answer to that. Is not a good answer. It's not a warm and fuzzy answer. What they have gotten, because that is their nature, is a result of greed, murder, abuse. I can go on. Their spirit is an entirely different spirit, and maybe in this world where everything is focused on money, or capitalism, if you will, they are prone to do that by all means necessary. They're the classic example of the misinterpretation of a quote in the Bible: "Money answers." No, money does answer all things, but the quote is
the root is it the root of?
Oh, it's for the love of money.
The love of money.
The love of money, right, and people interpretate the interpretation of that is that if you love money unconditionally, you will do anything for money. And there are people who will do anything. We have a historical record of those groups and cultures that have done anything for money, to including enslaving and colonizing and raping and pillaging the country's resources and assets. They will do anything, although it's morally wrong. And the intention of our white friends is to keep Africa poor. That has been stated over social media, is to keep you poor so that they can control access to the wealthiest continent on the planet in terms of natural resources. They need those resources to drive their economies. So they will do that by any means necessary, and they have demonstrated that. So um, that's what they have done. I'm talking about whites. What Asians have done, one of the things, there's tremendous unity, and there's tremendous education. There's tremendous work ethic. They're smart people. They come from us. Go back to ancient Asia, ancient China, and look and see what they look like. Right? They were Africans. Remember, we are the only people. Black women are the only uh, people
Yes.
that possess the mitochondrial DNA of coloration or producing any kind of human. It came from us. So they are very moral people, and they're very, very, very smart, and very, very excellent in business. But they employ their own, which is something we ought to do. In fact, if you go into a Chinese restaurant in the hood in America, and there's 2 or 3 brothers waiting on you, that's not a real Chinese restaurant, because Chinese people do not employ black people. They barely even like us. But they have worked, and they have an ancient history. They have worked hard and have been disciplined, and it shows in their results. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that I'm trying to keep these things short. It was a very rich question, actually a very deep question, and we could spend the whole time just really unpacking that granularly, and really what does that look like? What does that mean? But we cannot worry about them.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. We must worry about ourselves. Right? And as I said, ain't nobody fixing black people but black people. Right? It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Who are we waiting for? We're waiting for us. Right? But old keys will not open new doors. We need new keys. And these kinds of streamings help to populate the thinking around a body of brothers and sisters who want to do better, and we can do better. I mean, one of the big things that we must do, we forget about looking outside. Well, Africa has to unite. Africa first free themselves, as Burkina Faso and Niger, etc., right? Free themselves, right, and then become a united continent. That's where the power is. Right. But I see they're beginning to understand that. They're overcoming incredible odds. They've gone through almost 100 years of colonialism. And so, but that's I'm hoping that within the next 100 years that Africa will unite. Right. That it a united, I wouldn't call it the United States of Africa, because you don't call your countries states, right? You call them countries, right? Right. So it would be the United Countries of Africa. And there are 54 of them, with the richest soil on earth.
Yeah.
So once we unite and collaborate throughout the diaspora, that's the biggest fear that others have. We're the dominant species. We were first. We built the first great civilizations, melanated people, black people in particular. So it's clear our, let's call it superiority. But they have flipped the whole script on that, haven't they?
Exactly.
We refer to it as white superiority. Oh, no, 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 no. Read your history. Read your history, brothers and sisters. Right? As I said, we were living in pyramids and building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when they were living in caves practicing cannibalism. They know. They know. And it's now all coming out. And that was part of the indoctrination process during our enslavement, was to erase our memories and to change history.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a pretty good job. Boy, they did a number on us. That is for sure. So it's a long answer to your question, but it's a great question. And I have hope. Um, uh, I have hope that things, as time goes on, things will slowly but surely get better and better. We will be more collaborative throughout the diaspora. That's huge. And uh, um, Africa at some point in time will unite. No, I don't think anybody in the world is interested in that because they understand the potential power of that. But us,
Mm-hmm.
they are not interested in Africa uniting. It has been said publicly, we must keep Africa poor. I don't know if you saw that video. Did you see that very famous speech? A white guy at a very
Prince,
prestigious.
Eric Prince.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we posted it. Yeah, we've seen it.
Woo.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Fraser. I'm just gonna go back on what Underco's said
Sure.
here, and you've given us so much nuggets, and in terms of okay, we need to network, but our networking, based on what Underco is saying, cannot be as the way the white people do it,
That's right.
because we're conscious people, and we
That's right.
are So how can we network in the way of Ubuntu?
Well, and I'm glad you said that because that's precisely right. Um, let me frame it this way: you cannot win a war without allies.
This is true.
Ask Ukraine.
This is
All
true.
right. Ask Israel. So there are those that do not look like us.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all devils. Forget that. There's some good people out here that don't look like us, but empathize and understand the state of our condition and will do anything and all that they can help to help. We saw that during slavery with the Underground Railroad. Most of those stops were in white homes. All right. So there are those that don't look like us that are good. And you must befriend them. You must find them, understand them, and make them an ally. Right? Yes, I'm a race man, and a race man simply means that whatever my efforts are, gifts are, go to Black people first. First, I didn't say only. I said first. Then whatever's left over under the appropriate circumstances, others. Well, guess what? That's how white people think,
Mm-hmm.
right? White people are
Yep.
going to do for white people first. Chinese are going to do for Chinese people first. Jews are going to do for Jews first.
Especially them.
So aggregating our resources, recycling our dollars, all the things that we can do, right? We must do it with and for each other first. So with the intellectual capital of the most educated black people in the world on a per capita basis, those African Americans, well, yeah, people from of African descent in America, at some point in time, through the intellectual capital and prowess and the human capital and prowess of this nearly 40 million here, will find opportunity. Some will go back home to the continent, but through strategic alliances, joint ventures, and partnerships in business and in education, right? We will be a powerhouse. That's a ways off, because we don't even have unity among ourselves yet, namely the motherland. We're working on it. They're talking about it. We see incremental progress. So each day it's inspirational. But to fully have it functioning, the continent as one, is a ways off. But it's
Dr. Fraser, sorry, can I just on what you're saying there? So how do we build those alliances? Because I'm a diasporan, I'm an African, and this is what we're trying to do on this platform.
Well,
you have to do
go there. And you have to build relationships, because you're not going to do serious business with someone that you don't have a friendship or relationship with, someone that you know, love, and trust. You're not going to do that, right? Especially on the continent. I don't have to tell you, and I want to say this and still be loved, that corruption is crazy. It's crazy, right? So you have to find the right people, build a bridge, and then find things to work on.
Yeah.
Find ways to speak. Find ways to write. Find ways to share your efforts, because the key to learning is simplicity and repetition. You got to say it 50 different ways on 50 different days. You got to just keep saying it. And eventually, over time, I mean, look at what Donald Trump has done with his stupidity. Why is, the election in America tied? Right? It's mostly lies and stupidity, but he keeps repeating it, and half of the population believes him. But there's no foundational truth. So all I'm saying is repetition. That's why I write and speak, and I write and speak about the same thing, and I'm just saying them over and over and over and over again until you get it. And that's the approach I took with networking. I wrote that book 37 years ago, but I kept talking about it, repeating it. Now, throughout the Black world, networking is the thing. No one is putting on a conference without mentioning networking, right? So it's very, very important. But it took 40 years of and 5 books and 4,000 speeches to continue to repeat the same thing over a 40-year period of time. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time and patience and a commitment to serve.
I unfortunately, I'm going to put you in this position, but I put you in this position in order to serve our community. When my people, especially those on the continent, see you, they see a Mzungu, a white man. So, Dr. Fraser,
That's right.
I am afraid you're going to have to defend your Blackness. And please, as you defend it, talk about the 3/5 rule of the United States Constitution in explaining who you are, please.
Oh, well, the rule back in the day was one drop of African blood, black blood, and you were black. We don't care what shade you were, you were black. And because you were black, you were actually counted back then as 3/5 of a human, not a whole human. You were certainly black. And there were a lot of light black people. I don't have to explain to you how we ended up with so many light-skinned black people, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? You know what happened with that.
Yes.
Right? No question about it. But my mother, Ida Mae Baldwin, who grew up in the Deep South way back in the early 1900s. Her great 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 grandmother was from the Cameroon. I did a DNA test, and that's what the DNA says, that uh, that 40 something percent of me is Cameroonian from the Tikar tribe. They could not only pinpoint the country that my great grandparents were from, but also could pinpoint the tribe. This is AfricanAncestry.com.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than one drop of blood, but my mother was fair skinned, like I am. My father was your complexion, on the way. It was your complexion. My father was very dark, and my mother was very light, right? And that's from what went on in slavery. And so, um, in fact, if you look at a picture, family picture, there's one in my bio, in my little sizzle reel of all the 11. There's 11 of us, 8 boys and 3 girls. All right, 11 of them are the colors of Oladile. Give me,
Oladele. Oladele.
Oladele.
Oladile.
Don't worry, Dr.
Oladele.
Fraser. We're going to help
No,
you
no,
get
no,
your
yeah,
African
right.
African tongue back.
Exactly.
Oladele.
Right. So my 11 siblings are your color, and then me and my sister look like this. My sister's the same shade. So yeah, now that's A. B, when we talk about color or race, what we're really talking about is culture.
Yeah.
So I certainly, even looking like this, because it always stood out, I was raised by 2 Black people. I was raised in a Black culture in Brooklyn, New York. So my culture, people, when they see me, may say, well, he looks white, but it becomes clearer when I open my mouth and the things that come out.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're really talking about, am I culturally congruent with the challenges and opportunities in the culture? Yes. And by the way, just a point of information. We all used to talk about the Black community. I don't use community anymore. I use culture. And so I used to say, well, so-and-so with the community. No, I say so-and-so with the culture.
Please explain why you don't use one over the other. Why do you use culture instead of community?
Culture is really, it is culture that shapes us, that informs our decisions, that in fact provide tradition and direction for our life. It is culture. And our culture is diametrically opposite of white culture.
100%.
We don't behave and act and same and respond and create the same way as white people.
No, we don't. No.
We don't act and behave in the same way as Asian people. It's Asian culture. If you've ever been to Japan or China, whatever, it's a culture. And that's one of the interesting things. And it's very different from our culture. And they have traditions. So culture is the essence of who we are. That's why I use culture.
And I think that would be helpful. And thank you for that. I'm just encountering that differentiation. It would be helpful when it comes to returning us and reclaiming our Afrocentrism. Because if we focus on culture, then we are more in tune and grounded in our way, and at least finding it in the forest of confusion that we have found ourselves in.
That's right. If you focus on culture, you will understand the values, the mores, right? on how one comports themselves. That's enculturated into you. It's modeled. And that's what, so as young kids, we have models. We have a father model, we have a mother model, and that's the first thing that informs how we live our lives.
Mhm.
And then we evolve and change and grow, but still the culture and the values and the traditions are there.
The other question, when we were coming on, you mentioned provoke, instruct, inspire. And these are the three. Um,
Three responsibilities that any speaker has to his or her audience
yes,
is to
please.
provoke, is to make us think.
So please
Right?
explain that in the context of us uniting and liberating ourselves. Provoke, instruct, inspire. And this is mainly for those who are going to be the conductors. If you all remember Dr. Fraser's analogy at the beginning with the orchestra, the conductor is supposed to help the different sections
That's right.
play music to create harmony. So those of us, I am already claiming a position of conductor because I know I've already been playing that role, who take on this journey of liberating us and bringing us together. How do we use provoke, instruct, inspire for that purpose?
Yes.
Great question.
That's a great question. And it's just a simple science to it. I read the Sunday New York Times. It takes a week to read the Sunday New York Times. It's an incredible newspaper. I've been reading it for 50 years. There are two people at the Sunday New York Times who are paid $150,000 a year just to write headlines. That's all they do. Their job, right? And to write a headline that is provocative enough to get you to read that article, right? Um, Provocative could be certainly a negative spin to something. So, for example, I told you the title of a talk that I give all the time.
Mhm.
Right? It's a provocative title. The 7 biggest mistakes that you make when networking that will ruin your reputation and destroy your business. Well, that's pretty provocative. Well, oh, really? Well, how can I prevent that? So, provoking drags your audience into you unpacking what you're about to say. You want to get them at hello.
Mhm.
And something provocative, it doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but something provocative to drag them. And this is an art and a science. I mean, all newspapers and magazines and try to come up with provocative ways to address whatever they're writing about, so that you will at least begin to read it. So a speaker is to say something provocative to get people's attention from the moment you go up there. And then you unpack this provocative statement with illustrations. Here's what it is, and here's the problem or the issue, and here are the solutions. Hopefully, in articulating the problems, as I did with the 7 biggest mistakes, are inherent the solutions.
Mhm.
So I didn't just say, "Oh, here are the 7 biggest things you do bad," and I didn't say, "But I don't know how you can fix it. You figure it out." No, here's how I fixed mine. You can use that or design your own. All right. So the conductor, when he goes to the podium to conduct, has all the music, and he understands the music. He knows how the music should sound, and what the first violinist should be playing, what the trombonist should be, the timpani, right? And so that in a sense, those of us who must be part of the solution instead of part of the problem is get people's attention, and first, and it's typically with something provocative, but productive. But most importantly, what they're interested in is you unpacking that provocative statement and giving solutions. But first, you got to get their attention.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, Dr. Fraser, I'm just gonna I've been asked to ask you to repeat the story, the legend. When spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. They want you to repeat that story, sir.
That is one of my favorite it's an African quote. It's an African quote, and I have a little video that you may have seen the video.
I posted it. I sent it to you as well. I posted it.
Yeah,
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, we used it to just get people's attention to the podcast.
Yeah. There, in fact, hold on a second. That little chart that I held up, I think I was gonna. I thought I had it with me, but I don't. I stored it away. Where it's a chart.
Yeah.
Of a bunch of dots, all in their own space, unconnected, and I show, you probably ought to play the little video, and I showed the dots, and I said there is no power here.
I'll get it, Olade.
Everybody is doing their own thing, caught up in a Eurocentric value system of rugged individualism. Survival of the fittest. That's a trick. And then I turn it over and I show all the dots connected. Because that's where the power is.
Yeah.
That's where the real power is. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
The millions of views on that. I did that piece about 10 years ago. Yeah. As you can see,
please let me know if we have volume. I'll play it, and then let me know if we have volume.
I don't hear anything.
Hold on.
No.
There.
Of a profound.
There we go. We got it.
Insight from Minister Farrakhan, I prepared a chart. And this is a chart that I think says in another way what he so profoundly provided us today. This chart to me represents beautiful, educated, moneyed black people all over America. It could represent black organizations, it could represent black churches, it could represent black social and civic organizations. And what you will notice about these beautiful black people all over America is that everybody is doing their own thing. Caught up in a Eurocentric value of rugged individualism, having forgotten that it takes a village to raise a child. There is no power here, brothers and sisters. There is no power here. Power is most effective concentrated. You can take a 55-gallon drum of water, spill it over, it will disperse, find its own level, and eventually evaporate. You can take that same 55-gallon drum of water, put it under pressure, put a lid on it, put a hose in it, put a nozzle on the end of that hose, and it can cut concrete. There is no power with us being disconnected. See, there's nothing wrong with dispersion. I live in Cleveland, you live in Atlanta. We have folk in the Caribbean, we have folk in Africa. That's dispersion. That's okay, but we do not have to be disconnected. We are a disconnected people. We are powerless in disconnection. This is where all the power is. You see? This is where all the power is. Whether you are at the center of your own network or part of someone else's network, this is where the power is. There's a beautiful African proverb that says, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. When we connect because we are disconnected. We're disconnected from those of like mind. We're disconnected from the best practices in our community. I don't care what it is that you want to do, what profession you want to engage in, what business you want to get into. I can introduce you to brothers and sisters all over America that they are doing it to death. You just don't know who they are. You are disconnected from them. There is no power in disconnection. Okay? When we connect, we prevent interlopers from coming into our communities and taking and destroying at will.
All right, George.
Try to open up the Booker T. Washington delicatessen in Chinatown and see what happens. So we must connect. We must connect the dots. That must be the movement for our people in the 21st century. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. We need to get together to get ahead. That is why we must network. That is what we teach at the Power Networking Conference in June in Cleveland. Come and visit with us.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Please
remember what it said in Isaiah. Remember what it says in Isaiah.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Thank you. You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So now that whole piece, as you saw, I started out with something provocative
Yes.
Mhm.
to grab their attention.
Yeah.
All right. And then I explained it, right? What this thing is, this issue is, and then I gave them solutions. Right. Now, today I was more granular in the solutions. I took it right to the individual. Here's what you can do. Here are ways that you can behave. Here are the mistakes that you can avoid. And it's not rocket science. It really isn't. You got to make it plain and keep it simple. Make it plain and keep it simple. Let me say that a different way. Complexity is the enemy of execution.
Mm.
The more complex something is, the less likely you are to properly execute it.
Makes sense.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. And
Brilliant.
can I make that off of? I want to invite your audience.
Yeah. Do that, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's I had a little flyer here. I don't know what I did with it. What did I do with it? Hold on a second. Oh, here it is. This is the one from this year.
Okay.
Where we had Master P and we had Congressman Jeffries, Rohan Marley is the son of Bob Marley. It's an all-star lineup, the best, the brightest. And we are a conference where you learn. We are a training conference. We are a conference where you're not a spectator, you are a participant. There is no conference like this in our culture. And we've been doing it successfully now for 24 years, going on 24 years. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. It will be in October. And I'd like to invite you, if you look on the back of this, all of the rates for the various things. And one adult, just one adult, is $1,500. We sell out every year. One student, we want you to bring a young person. We should not be conferencing without our young people with us. 17 to 25 is $800. So that package together is $2,300. I'm reducing that to $499. So it is a limited number that people are going to have be able to take advantage of, because it's just a crazy number. It's way below costs, what it costs us. In other words, we'll be subsidizing your registration. But you can't go on our website and get this. You have to get it through me, right? And it's a one-time offer. The offer ends on Tuesday. You have to email me at gfraser@frasernet.com. Fraser, Fraser, just as you see it spelled.
I'll put it on the screen. I'll put it on the screen.
On the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the subject, put in. I'm in. In other words, I'm going to take advantage of the offer. I'm in. That's all you put. I'll know it's from this. It'll be timestamped when I get it. That's how all emails are. And then in
Like
the
that?
body, yeah.
Like that? As look at the screen. That's how you want it in the subject?
I'm looking at the screen. Where is it?
On your left,
Right.
right down the bottom.
On the left?
Left, you right down the bottom.
I'm looking at the bottom.
The video of us.
I don't see it on your video of you. No, I
Right
don't. I don't see it.
Are you on the bottom of myself and Oladile?
Yeah, there's three of us on the screen.
Yes, and then right below you, it is in the left corner is I'm in.
In the left corner. Oh, okay. The left
There's a
corner
bubble.
here. I'm in. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what. Yeah, I didn't see
Thank
that. It was
you.
covered up.
Thank you.
My email address, gfraser. There you go. I phrase it now. And then in the body of the email, just put your full name and your cell number. Your full name and your cell number, and I will call you today.
Mm.
We have a limit of 5. Okay. So first come, first serve. gfraser@frasernet.com. So take advantage of that. It's 75% off. It's in it's in the Black Mecca of America, which is now Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And have either of you been to Atlanta?
Yes, I
No,
have been
she
fortunate to be
obviously-
in Atlanta. Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope to see both of you. Take advantage of the offer. And again, this is the mantra of all things FraserNet is to connect, grow, and prosper. That's what we stand for. That's our brand. Our brand is to help you connect, to help you grow, and to help you prosper. That's what we want to do, and that's what we've been doing for 40 plus years. But we ask you to do that for one meta reason, so that you can learn, earn, and return. Learn, earn, and return. We have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning.
Wow.
And this is what this is about. This is Sunday. We're giving of our time, talent, right? And we're teaching.
Yes.
We're teaching. And it's a beautiful thing. And this is what we ought to be doing. But not enough of it. Now, there are many of us that are, but not enough of us. And that's the work that we must do for the rest of our lives. However you choose to manifest that, whether it's through, platforms like this, streaming, getting guests. I mean, all of this is, and then, I'm sure some of the things I've said, people have heard before.
Mm-hmm.
Good. You need to hear it again until you act on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Fraser, I've got a question here. How do our culture and environment shape our lives? How do we develop our inner selves when one of these factors influences our very existence?
Okay. There's the question. It's on screen. How do we, our culture and environment?
I had to read it twice
How do
too.
we develop our inner selves when one of these factors influences our existence? Most of these factors will influence your existence. You will develop yourself. Hopefully, it will begin with the right parenting. It will begin there, which will inform, if it's the right parenting, both a healthy, sound mother and father. And you need both. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl. If you're a girl, you need the modeling of your father, which will ultimately inform your decision on the kind of man you will select. All right. And if you are a young man, the kind of man you should be. Right. Now, and your mother is, when a young man is looking at his mother, he's looking at her as a model for the kind of woman that will inform him, the kind of man that, the kind of woman that will inform him as a man to look at. Has she been raised to be a wife?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of partner has she been raised? Right. So it's very, very, very important. So that's step number one. Let us pray you had that kind of those kinds of seeds planted in you. Number two is to select, to be careful, because once you get into kindergarten, you will be around other people and you will be selecting your friends, and that will be throughout your entire life. It starts really in kindergarten.
Mm.
So, as I said, introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are, as they know and as they go. So, right? So go you. So, but remember now, this is the beauty of God. God will never take away our ability to choose. So, what am I saying? Whomever you surround yourself with, good, bad, or indifferent, you chose them.
Hmm.
Therefore, you are responsible.
Oof.
Garbage in, garbage out. Right? There are people that will come into your life through every phases and stages of your life that you simply
Yep.
have to bless and release. Do you have the courage to do that? Some of them will even be your family members. Right? Because you're going to work on 3 kinds of networks throughout your entire life. This is what will inform your life. Well, a personal network. Right? These are your ride and dies. These are your close personal friends. These are the people that cheer you on, people who love you, hug you. That's your personal network. Then you will have what I call an operational network through every stage of your life. And these are people that will help you to get specific tasks and jobs done throughout your life. You come into their life to help them with a specific task and job, and they come into your life, and they come in and out of your life over the stages of your life. So my friends when I was a kid are not my friends anymore. They went on to say, right, but they were my friends then, and we worked with and through each other. So that's the operational network. And the third and final is a strategic network. These are the people that are smarter than you. These are the people that are where you want to be in life. These are the people who will drag you into the 21st century kicking, screaming, and crying and saying you got to learn how to use AI. It's getting ready to merge with quantum computing, right? So these are people who can ultimately be your coaches and mentors and guides. But you're going to select these people.
Mm.
So your selections have to be informed. And this is where you will get your operating manual for life, by the people that surround you. Friends. Let me say that differently. Friends are critically important because it's God's way of apologizing for your relatives. See, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your relatives.
True.
And we all have a few knucklehead relatives.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Right? So that's the meta way. And then commit yourself, I said it earlier, commit yourself to lifelong learning, personal growth and development, constant, never ending improvement. You don't graduate from college and never read another book in your life. And by the way, would you like to know a statistic of here's an interesting statistic. Of all the Black people that have graduated from historically Black colleges and universities, the statistics tell us that 82% of them, once they graduate from college, never read another book in their life.
Yeah, I believe that.
They read books because they had to get the grades and get through the courses. So if you're not reading, you don't know anything. You're uninformed. You're actually dangerous. You're actually operating, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, you're operating purely out of cognitive bias, not critical thinking. And you're a danger. That's the cold hard truth. Now, is that provocative enough? I hope so. I
I
hope
like,
it's provocative
I,
enough to make you at least think about it
mm.
and evaluate your friends, evaluate how you're spending your time and what you're doing with that time, because you're gonna blink your eyes and you won't be able to do it.
I have two more questions in this session. If you will allow me, two more questions, and I'll start with the first one. The other one is me shining a light on a friend's work. The second one, well, having you address this issue that the friend highlights in our community. But the first one is, why do you believe we are currently prone to disconnection within our culture?
Why? Repeat the last part again.
Why do
Why are
you why do you believe we are currently prone to disconnection within our culture?
we're prone to selection?
Disconnection. You said we are
Oh, disconnect.
disconnected.
Oh, disconnection. Okay, good, good. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, that has always been the psychological strategy, certainly here in the continental United States, to divide and conquer us. That the negative stereotypes of Black people, really around the world, um, are essentially saying that the only thing that we really can do well is sing and dance, play football, baseball, and basketball, and call each other niggas, bitches, and hoes.
Mhm.
All right, which is a form of division. All right, so we're still overcoming post. We still have post-slavery syndrome, trauma, because much of this kind of negative psychological whooping that we took has been passed on from generation to generation. Are we getting better? Are we healing? Yes, we are. Are we connecting more than we've ever connected? Yes, we are. But we're nowhere near white folk, Jewish people, Chinese people. Right? What did I say about Chinese people? They don't employ Black people. They solve their own unemployment problem, opening up small Chinese restaurants in the neighborhood, in the hood. But they employ only their own people. And you can't hate on them for that. That's what the hell we ought to be doing. All right. So this propensity for lack of trust, not all of us, but we don't trust each other. We don't see each other. Too many of us do not see each other in the same light of excellence and opportunity. It's an affliction. It and it's been heaped on us, and we're still suffering from it. But time heals all wounds. The question is, how much more time do we need? We're better than what we were 400 years ago, without question. But that's the wrong measurement. The right measurement is, as compared to white people, how we doing? If you compare to how we doing versus colonialism and slavery, we're doing much better. But in terms of progress, the progress that whites have made in team building and connecting and doing business with each other and having a positive imagery of their own, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's more conversations like this. That's really what it is. Constantly repeating this. So I repeated it for boomers for 40 years. Now we've got Gen X's coming along. We've got Gen Z's coming along. So they have to be, and there's, we've moved in a positive direction, but again, we're not fully where we need to be yet.
All right.
So you got to keep doing what you're doing, like stuff like this, for the rest of your life, and then you have to find someone, groom someone to pass the baton to so that they can take it the next step.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
we'll
And
take
so the last question, as we talk about African unity, I believe, and evidence has shown that the beginning of our unity is the family structure. And now I'm talking mostly about our culture, our brothers and sisters within the borders of the United States. There's a trend that has been happening lately of breaking up families. And when those families are broken, and especially when the United States law gives the mother the advantage of having the children, and these women have understood that the US law is unfavorable to the Black man, and therefore they use it, they weaponize it to keep the fathers away from the children. You mentioned this before. Please explain, if your explanation today can help just one mother return and reconnect her children to their father so that they can heal that family and continue to be productive members of the community towards our unification. Please explain how wrong it is to use this corrupt and oppressive system against ourselves in this way.
Well,
and just before you go quickly, I was going to say this: the video that I pinned there is a brother, Nwari Films, who has done a documentary on this, shining a light from the perspective of the women, so that we can understand it. But go ahead, Dr. Fraser, please. Thank you.
that's a great question. It's a loaded question. And I am ashamed to admit, to be candid with you, that the effects of what you spoke has been devastating. In fact, when I go out to speak, there's a talk that I give on the 5 most important things that we must be doing as Black people throughout the diaspora. And the number one challenge we have, number one, this is the number one thing, but I believe it is only unique to African Americans. I don't believe what I'm about to say is unique to Africans on the continent. It's unique to Black people in America, which continues to show how damaged we are. Let me frame it by saying, without couples, you have no families. Without families, you have no community. Without community, you have no tradition. And without tradition, you have no culture. Let me begin there.
Wow.
The state of marriage in the African American culture is in the worst state that it's ever been in. It is down from 85% when I was growing up as a young man. 85% of us were married. It is now down to 34%, the lowest of the 5 major cultural groups in America. 34%. And all these statistics say that if nothing changes, if it isn't fixed by Black people, within 20 years it will be in the low teens. In other words, the dissolution or the dissolving of the concept of family in our culture. Now, why is that so egregious? There is no culture in the history of humankind that has maximized their full human potential without family at the center of that culture.
Yep.
Without family at the center of that culture. The state of that, unfortunately, and a model of that exists right here in the United States among African Americans, right? The lowest marital rate of the 5 major cultural groups in America. Now, I don't know what the marital rate is on the continent, right? I don't know if it's up or down. It'd be interesting if somebody do the research and find out. But
Mm.
all I can tell you is during slavery, even when it was illegal for us to be married, we understood how important the family was. We couldn't legally get married. We jumped the broom. The marriage rate, even during slavery, was higher than it is today.
Wow.
Okay. Now, why is that so critically important? It has a profound impact on wealth, money. Money answers all things. So let me give you the cold hard statistics. Of the 5 major cultural groups in this country, white people for 350 years had the highest median household income. In other words, their families made the most money for 350 years, white people in America. All that has changed. So let me give you a list. Who has the highest household median income in America today? East Indians at $124,000 a year. What is the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%. Second are Chinese Asians, $109,000 household income a year. What is the marriage rate? Nearly 70%. Third are white people, household median income $81,000. What is the marriage rate? 57%. Fourth are Hispanics, household median income $63,000 a year, marriage rate nearly 70%. Finally, black people, household median income $53,000 a year, marriage rate 34%. 71% of our women are not married, and 29% will never get married. 66% of our men are not married. 34% of our men will never get married. This is exacerbated by 2 very deep and profound facts. 78% of our children are raised in a single parent household, principally by the woman, and 70% of our children are born out of wedlock. This is an existential crisis. It is clear that 2 working together in partnership will do better than 1.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have to fix this. So let me say the next thing to all of you who are listening and still be loved, to the sisters. It appears to me, based on facts and statistics, that our women today, black women in America, would rather have a baby than to be a wife. This is also exacerbated by the toxic relationships between black men and black women in America. How did we get this way? There's a long history of how this evolved, thinking that we were giving young black women good advice. Our parents, my parents, when they were raising their children, told the ladies in the household, don't ever depend on a black man taking care of you. Black men are under attack. White people are trying to destroy them. They're the cornerstone of the black family. They can destroy black men. They can destroy black families. Even when we got social services of welfare, a woman could not get welfare money if there was a man in the house.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of things that occurred over a long period of time where now the modern black woman says, I don't need a man. Black women in America, by the way, statistically are the most educated women in America.
Yep.
They are doing better than men. And so there is a toxic relationship between Black men and Black women. And that's why marriage rates and divorce rates are higher than marriage rates. So we must fix this. So you say, well, Dr. Fraser, how must we fix this? First, understand that it's even a problem. Now, when I'm out talking about this, you could hear, as we like to say, you could hear a rat piss on cotton in Georgia. That's how quiet the room is. A lot of times there's a bunch of pastors in the room. And I sign books and stuff at the end, and they line up to talk to me. Said, we didn't really know this. Most Black people have no clue the state of Black marriage in our culture or family in our culture. It's an existential crisis. So first is to inform the culture. To inform the culture. That's the first thing. The second thing is to begin the long-term mending process of what a man really wants from a woman and what a woman really wants from her man. It's just as basic as that. So just as an example, Dr. Fraser, what does a man really want from his woman?
You know what? You will have saved me a lot of heartache. Please give me the answer, Dr. Fraser.
The first thing he wants is peace. P-E-A-C-E. The last thing he wants is to deal with all the shit out here in the world working, building bridges, building roads, teaching people how to use AI. The last thing a man wants when he comes home is to have to deal with the same issues he's dealing with in the real world. He wants peace.
And before you go to the second one, since you taught us that in order to get something, you have to give something, what does the man give to get peace?
I'll get to that in a minute.
Thank you.
But that's the right question. I hadn't gotten to women yet, right? I started with men. What's the second thing that a man wants? Respect. Respect. If you do not respect your man, it will come out in how you behave and comport and react to your man. He doesn't get respect anyplace else. White folks don't respect him like they should. So at least he can get respect from a person who said, he said, till death do us part. Respect. What's the third thing a man wants from his woman? Inspiration. To be his biggest cheerleader, right? To inspire him. What's the fourth thing that a man wants from his woman? Non-sexual intimacy. Non-sexual intimacy. You never stop holding hands. You put your marriage before your kids. You touch your partner. You love your partner. Right? It's not sex. Sex is way down on the list. those things come first. If those things ain't happening, the first three things, sex ain't gonna be too good. Right? He's not gonna be in the right mindset. Okay. And so he wants inspiration and he wants approval. Those are the things that a man wants from his woman. Now, what does a woman want from her man in order to be able to provide those things? First, provision. A man must be able to provide, and then, second, protect his family, his children, his wife. I don't care how good looking or virile he is, if he can't provide properly, that's the end of the story. So, to provide and to protect. The woman also wants a man to lead. Now, you notice I left, maybe you don't know, but I left out the word submission.
Yeah.
A lot of people are using a woman must submit.
Please clarify that
Very,
point.
a very terrible word.
It is. I can't stand
Very
that.
bad choice of words. It's because it just has a very negative, sounds like servitude, has a very negative connotation to it. So the word has to be changed. Right? But because it's co-leadership. It's really what it is. You have a responsibility as the mother, the queen, that fund the nurturing and the primary nurturing and the growing of the children. And there are millions of decisions. We raised two sons, and you lead in that area.
Mm.
It's not that your husband does not contribute to the nurturing of their children, no question, but the fundamental responsibility falls in the hands of your queen. Yes, make no mistake about it. What is the order of life? First there was God, then there was man, and then there was woman. Right? So that's the order of life. And when big decision, I'm an expert at this because I've been married for 51 years to the same sister. So I must have done something right.
Yeah.
Right? So a man co-leads with a woman, but they have different areas of responsibility.
Yeah, I like how you use the word co-leads. I love that.
Yes, absolutely. Right? They co-lead and they contribute whatever it is that they contribute, and it's the combination of 1 + 1 making 11. So it's the two. So therein lies the bigger problem of 80% of our children being raised in a single parent household, principally by a woman. Now you can imagine what that looks like, and it is evident in what we're seeing in our kids today. Because a child needs both male and female energy. That's how God has designed the system. Women are more emotional. Men are more logical. You need both. Right? So if a young man is being raised only by a woman, how is that young man going to comport himself, generally speaking, throughout life? Through emotions. That is not what men do. So, women also want open communication.
Please tell them,
I'm
Dr.
going to tell you
Fraser.
what the number one. Well, here's the number one reason. Here's the number one reason for divorce in America.
Tell them.
Number one reason for divorce, and it's not money. You think it was money. The number one reason for divorce in America is uncommunicated expectations. You expected such and such from me, but you never said anything. We never discussed it. You wanted me to guess it. So open communications is extraordinarily important. And then how you comport yourself when you are communicating. If you're always yelling and raising your fists, I mean, no, that doesn't work. That's why emotional intelligence is so important, why I talked about it earlier. So, we need Black children to see Black men and women loving and respecting each other.
Absolutely.
That then becomes their model. And we used to be there. We're no longer there. That's a problem.
Yeah.
A huge problem. It is a silent killer. So if the man can do all he can to destroy the Black man, that becomes the cornerstone for destroying the Black family. And that's where we have landed. It's very diabolical, and on one side, it's what a brilliant psychological whooping we've gone through. As the at a number of different levels, it was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, the late renowned Black psychiatrist. She said, "We cannot continue to call ourselves niggas, bitches, and hoes and expect that we can amount to anything."
Please tell them. Tell them, because they think they can flip the meaning behind those words and make it something good. Because they talk about us changing the meaning of the word when it's still doing the harm in our community.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did you get a good audience? Your streaming audience?
Yeah, it's been consistent all the way through.
We have audience on Twitter because we broadcast on Twitter. We have audience on LinkedIn. We have audience on YouTube. It's good numbers. You have people
good. That's
commenting.
That's so wonderful. I mean,
and we're still live. So, but I realize we have to bring you back to talk about the family. We definitely have to bring you back to talk about the family.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Fraser, because of time.
One little nugget. The question is, why do we yell at each other? We get to the point where we start yelling, sort of out of control. We've all probably have done that at some juncture in our life. You start yelling at something. And I was reading about this. I don't know, why do we resort to yelling? And you're trying to have a conversation. And I was reading some spiritual texts, some ancient Chinese spiritual texts. I have a big library. I'm in my office, right? This is it's not a green screen. I've got 2,500 books in my office and 15,000 books in my home. And they came up with a very, very interesting answer on why we yell at each other. And it's this. We yell because when we are at each other in the state of conflict, the spirit, your partner's spirit, the more conflict you have spiritually, the further away you become. Until such time as you you reconcile, moderate it. But through whatever you're complaining about or yelling about, the spirit, it gets further and further away.
Wow.
And thus, because we're further from each other, although we're really actually standing there in their face, right? We yell. We yell. We talk louder. Although you might be standing in the person's face, we talk louder, thinking that you cannot hear us. And spiritually, because you're arguing and yelling, you can't.
Dr. Fraser, just quickly, and oh my God, we're already at 2 hours and you keep talking and we need more, but quickly, what you're saying is we're not physically far from each other, but our subconscious and our spirit, which is lying in there, is so far away that it sees us as needing to yell to be heard because we're not being heard.
That's right. And then someone will say to you, because you're actually right there. You're right there in the body, but the spirit, you're so far apart on this thing that you're yelling about, right? The spirit of each is not there, and so we tend to talk louder, right? When we're angry. Really, it is just to try to do something to bring the spirit of or the essence of the argument to some point that we can resolve it.
Wow. I've learned a lot today, Dr.
Right?
Fraser. I've learned a lot.
I had never read that before.
Yeah.
And it made sense to me.
Yes, it does.
We all got free marriage counseling. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Fraser, thank you for your time, sir. Just to round this up, we normally ask our guests.
Oladele, quickly.
Go on.
I'm sorry. Because you do not provoke without instructing, do you suggest quiet in order to bring the spirit close to each other? Quiet and meditation. Okay.
Oh yeah, no. Thank you for bringing that up. What's the solution?
Thank you.
Shut up.
Okay.
Sleep on it. Cool off. Separate. Think about it. It's no more complicated than that. Right? Because if you don't, you get louder, they get louder, and it's a mess. We've all been through. It's a mess, and you actually end up regretting it, quite frankly. And when you're in that state, you say things that you really don't mean. You're really just trying to, in some cases, hurt somebody. So the best thing is to, if someone starts with a complaint, just listen. Listen. Don't interrupt them. Just listen. Let them bleed out. And you could do a response. That's an interesting perspective. Let me think about that. Right? And then come back at it at whatever you feel is the appropriate time and sit down and discuss it. There are times in life where saying nothing is far more productive than running off at the mouth.
Wow.
But again, this is what you acquire when you have a high emotional intelligence. This is why I say your EQ, right, will be more important than your IQ. It's how you comport yourself. How do you come across? Because yes, there are words, yes, and words have power, but it's also the whole body. The language that you are communicating without words, the words hopefully expressed in the body language as well. So yeah, but it takes studying and it takes understanding, but it's so important.
You know what, Dr. Fraser, I'm on 30. How many years I've been 34 years of marriage now.
34.
34. And
I'm still
learning, and I'm learning, and it gets better all the time.
Now, but you know why? I mean, that's a wonderful point. When you make that vow, there's about a 20% chance that you will be able to fulfill that vow till death do us part. So why does that happen? Here's what happens when you come to two people come together,
Mm.
and assuming you get married, you've decided that you're equally yoked. Okay. Time. First two things. You can outgrow her, or she can outgrow you. That's one
Yeah.
of two things that can happen. The next two things. You can grow in one direction, she can grow in another direction. That's four possibilities.
Yeah.
The fifth possibility is that you can grow together like a twisted ficus tree.
Yeah.
That's what sustains it. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about growth,
Yeah.
are you growing? And you're 34 years in, I'm 51 years. Am I a different person 51 years later than I was when I was 29? Oh, hell yeah, that person is dead
Absolutely.
and gone.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jesus. Right? Right? And so you're growing, she's growing and changing and evolving, right? And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And we have to discuss that and recognize that and appreciate that and try to grow along and again, this is very easy to say, extraordinarily difficult to do, because most marriages don't last a half a century.
It's about being intentional. You gotta work at it.
I love that word. That is exactly the word. Intentional. Right? I made this commitment. I put the hand on the Bible. Come hell or high water, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work.
Yeah.
That's the
I say
intention.
I say I say here, my wife probably hearing. She irritates me the most, but I love her the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me help you change that, my dear brother. She challenges you the most. She challenges you the most, not irritates you.
Okay.
Irritate is
Yeah.
negative. She challenges you the most.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. I'll take
Mhm.
that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Now, but at the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
And this is what I told my wife. I am the king. You are the queen. We have combined and separate responsibilities. As a queen, you have responsibility. As a king, I have responsibilities. My responsibility is at the end of the day, if we have to abide by a final decision for whatever it may be, it comes from the king. So then this is what I said to her during our engagement. I said, Nora, I'm the king and you are my queen. If it ever should become I'm the queen and you're the king, it's over. Right? No. That's how we are designed. Designed. No question about it. Now, there are all kinds of ways that can manifest itself. And that's why I said to you earlier, what is one of the things that a woman wants from her man is to lead. That's your organic, moral, and spiritual role. That is biblical. That's what's in the Bible. That's what it says. Now, there are men who don't want that. I mean, so, it's all over the place. But fundamentally, it's his responsibility to provide, protect, and lead. But if he's smart and savvy, he frames it and acts on it in a co-leadership kind of way, right? And And if there's any element of submission, of which the word needs to change, is it because you wanted me to lead, and we discuss a situation, and I make the final decision, she submits to that decision.
Okay, thank you for because of time. Let's run this up now.
And we need to bring him back, Oladile,
Yeah.
to talk about marriage, but also Christianity's role in it, because I am anti-Christian and I've been patiently
that's for a different topic. So we're
And
gonna bring it back.
I need for some of your fans and followers to come to the conference, take advantage of this crazy offer, right? Come to the conference. You just got 1 ounce out of a ton of information that you will get at the conference. There are
that, guys?
A lot of people there who are a hell of a lot smarter than I am.
You hear that, guy? That's a personal offer from Dr. Judge Fraser. You got a special discount. All you gotta do is email him directly, drfrasernet.com, and I'm in, and your name and your details.
Yeah.
Subject: I'm in. 5 people until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday.
Yes. The first 5. If it's more than that, I'll work it through. Everything's timestamped, but yeah, because it's such a crazy offer. I just wanted to pique people's interest.
Courtesy of Kumbukeni and Emerging Alkebulan.
Yeah, it's a package you would normally pay $2,300 for in one of the great cities in the world, Atlanta.
Thank you.
All right.
Oladile.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Keep doing God's.
Hold on. We have one more thing for you. We have a tradition here.
Okay.
We have a tradition where we ask a guest a question, and this question was from the last guest, and the question they put down for you: what brings you the greatest bliss in life? How can you use this to make future generations grateful for what you do with the rest of your life? I think you shared that with us. But
what gives me the greatest pleasure in life?
Yes. And how can you use this to make future generations grateful for what you did for the rest of your life?
That's a heavy-duty question too. I'm going to answer it this way. I was doing an interview for ABC television here in the United States, and a sister was interviewing me. And she said, Dr. Fraser, what would you like on your tombstone? I said, wow, no one's ever asked me that question. I have never really thought about that. I said, so I'm going to take a few seconds and think about that. I said, okay, here's my answer. This is my answer to you. When you die, on your tombstone here in the States is the first, at the top of the tombstone, the year you were born and the year you died. And there's a hyphen in between those 2 years. That hyphen represents your entire life and body of work. Under the year you were born and the year you die is your name. Under my name, I only want 2 words. He mattered.
Wow.
That's the question that we must all ask. Do you matter? And to whom and for what? Matter. You're given this time to touch people and to make things just a little bit better. And we do it in increments and small doses over time. So that what gives me the greatest pleasure? Loving, giving, serving, adding value, so that I will at the end of the day fall into my grave, die empty, but I mattered. I did not misuse or abuse the time given to me.
Thank
Wow.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much, sir. And one final thing from you for our next guest. What kind of question would you like to leave for our next guest? We don't know who they are, but what's in your thought? What are you led to?
Your next guest?
Our next guest, yeah. We need a question. Yeah.
Are you gonna? Is it going to be a male or female or a subject matter expert or?
We don't tell. It's all spiritually connected.
Okay, I hear you. I would like for you to ask them that same question that you just asked me.
Wow.
And see if they can wrap a story around, which is proof of concept, on what gives them the greatest pleasure.
Wow.
Right? Loving, giving, serving, adding value, mattering. Right? This would be interesting to see what they say. What gives you the greatest pleasure? That's a heck of a question.
It is. It's pretty loaded.
Yeah. That's a great question. I would ask them the same question.
Okay, brilliant. Perfect. Okay, Dr. Fraser, we really appreciate your time. It's been fully loaded. I've sat down here, I've been writing notes, I've learned a lot. I'm sure my co-host Nduku's done the same. Like you said, we have to keep learning, and we keep learning.
Yeah.
And
will you send me a copy? Will you send me a copy?
I will send you a copy.
Video?
Yeah, I will send it. I will send it. Yeah, I will send it to you. I could send a video, and I could send it's going to be on YouTube. I could send that to you as well.
Yeah. That send it to YouTube or video, whatever you have. That's really great because my people can slice and dice this.
Perfect. Okay, no worries. I'll get that sent to you. Yeah.
Sound bites, like
Yeah.
And it will give you further promotion.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much, my elder. We appreciate you, and thanks for your time. And like Unduku said, we're looking forward to have you back soon.
Thank you.
All
right. Thank you very much.
All right. Now.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
I got you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Kila laheri to everyone. Kila laheri, kwaherini.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for